Hello and welcome to Karma Talks. This is Mark Hughes. Today we're going to be talking with Cynthia Glinka. She's one of our members and she is a dance instructor, choreographer, and dance enthusiast. But what we're going to be talking with Cynthia about is a little bit more than that, where she's been, but mostly where she's going. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. All right, so here we go. So tell us, if you will, how did you get into dance?
Well, thank you for asking. Dance has been my entire life's purpose ever since I was a young girl in ballet school, where my mother sent me as a very young girl. And it was fascinating because I was so enthusiastic about being a ballerina. But at that time of the ballerina world, I became very tall. And so they told me I would never be a ballerina. And
so this is you're how old at this point?
5, 6. Then I got 7 and 8. I got my first toe shoes, and the teacher took them away and said, she will never dance. She's too tall. And in those times, they were looking at body types, and it was devastating in grammar school. So I just stopped.
So as early as 5 years of age, you had some intrigue or interest with dance.
I've always been bopping around. My mother and I danced. I'm from Polish heritage, a lot of polka parties with my family, and it was just something that was in me.
So speed forward. How did you actually, when you went into your adult life, how did you actually make the plunge and jump into dance?
Well,
what events took place? Yeah.
I'll say events did take place through 12 years of Catholic school, 4 years all-girl Catholic school in Chicago, Illinois. I was in all the plays and excelled in drama. And then I was looking for a different purpose. It was the time of, change in the world, and I was changing with it. When I graduated from high school, I think love was on my parade and my radar, and how to get out of Chicago. So I fell in love for the first time with a gentleman that I thought was the love of my life. And my life changed from there. Came out to California, and all these events kind of fell into place that brought me to where I am today, with basically dancing saved my life.
So how did it save your life?
Well, a journey of 5 years. And at that time of the timeline, being a battered woman was not spoken about. There was a mission.
Wait, stop. So you're saying you were a battered woman?
I was in this terrible relationship for about 5 years.
So this man that pulled you out of Chicago and took you to California was abusive?
Yes.
And so tell us about that. Tell what happened, if you can.
I'm happy to tell it, because I find that me telling my story brings it out for other women who have had this experience themselves. And it took me a while to be able to talk about it, because at one point in my life, he actually went all board and wanted to take me down, and he did. And I was 22 years old. And it was no family in town. Friends did not know what was going on. And one night he just went out of his body to take me out of my body. And I was taken by ambulance in the middle of the night and was told.
So he physically attacked you?
He physically beat me to death.
Oh, wow. So when the ambulance came and got you and took you to the hospital, where were you at that point?
I was in San Francisco, and I'm so grateful to have been able to crawl out of the house and knock on a neighbor's door who I didn't know, who got me to the hospital. And all I remember is waking up the next day and was told that I was in very bad shape. I had my spleen taken out. Let me just say, I had a whole 10 years of fixing my body up from what had happened that night.
Wow. Now, I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm back to normal.
Yeah, good.
My true self.
Truly, truly wonderful. Thank you. That's awesome. So did you not also have an out-of-body experience?
Well, as what it turned out is something was very innate in me when I was in that hospital recovering, recalling and asking questions what did happen to me, and nobody was really talking to me. And what, out of the grace of the heavens, it's really an unbelievable timing, but the gal next to me who was a rape victim in the hospital room told me about a place that I can go and seek shelter. And that was a place called La Casa de las Madres in San Francisco. And it was one of the first battered women's shelters in the United States that was funded and up and running. It was up and running for just 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Wow.
So my exit out of the hospital was not going back home to him or to nowhere. I have nowhere to go. And I was embraced by these wonderful women and recovered and learned a lot about myself and what had happened. I was having a lot of dreams and a lot of flashbacks. I was at the battered women's home for 3 months. You're only usually allowed 1, so you can tell the extent of the injuries, and I tried to find my way. And what's so great about battered women's shelters is they protect you. They hide you. And he was on the search for me. He was searching, and they knew it, and the authorities knew it. So it was really quite a traumatic and dramatic, very dramatic time.
I'm sure. It certainly sounds like it.
It was very dramatic, and I'm grateful for them.
Yeah. So then you've shared with me in the past that then you went for a walk through the city. And
I was out walking around on Market Street and getting strength back and gaining my sanity back. And I've always loved dance. So I'm walking down the street and I see the storefront window with this huge picture of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers in the front window. And of course I stopped, walked in. I met this wonderful gentleman. His name was Bob Dean. It was a Bob Dean dance studio on Market Street in San Francisco in the 70s. And I waltzed in there and danced right out and changed my life. I took courses with him and became an instructor and trained as a ballroom dancer per se. But let me just shift back about this near-death experience. That was about a year that I did find my way. I did get some employment, not in dancing, but you know what we had to do to live. And survive. And a year later, I really started to wonder what happened to me. So I went back to the hospital and I requested, please tell me what happened, because I'm not sure what happened. So they were all in the line, and I got to say that the authorities or all the people in charge of this hospital, when I went in, they were very leery of telling me what had happened. I had a feeling, and I was told by my social worker at the time, that they were afraid of being sued because I did flatline and I did come back and they didn't talk about it. And people.
So let's talk about that. I want to hear that part. So you left your body and actually saw yourself on the table.
I was up above, looking down, floating above, and when you have an internal injury, say like your spleen being ruptured and a number of all the ribs being broken, they take all the organs out of your body and they place it on the side or on top of you is what I saw, so they can dig in and get whatever is ruptured out. So I'm sitting there hovering around looking at this, and I'm just so conscious and so in awe. And then all of a sudden, as we now know, they weren't talking about that either. There was a tube of light, and there I flew. And I flew up, 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 up. And I was walking and looking down, not walking, I was looking down. And it was so incredible. I feel like it was a time lapse. And I was going, and I felt safe, and I saw light, and I saw peace, and I saw joy. I didn't see any figures so much, but I saw my mother. My mother kept calling me. She's in Chicago, mind you. And at that point, zip, back into the body, up the next day. And in reflection, it was my mother who pulled me back, because a year later, I didn't tell my mother what had happened. Nobody knew what had happened. My recovery was in progress. And I went home to visit my mother after the injuries were healed, so she wouldn't know. And I'm in this little kitchen of where we lived in Chicago. She had a calendar. And in those days, they had butcher calendars with little pockets. So you put the bills in. And I said to her, I told her what had happened. And she says, and then she started just like freaking out. So she went to the calendar. They never in time took the calendars off, the old ones. They never removed them. They put them on top of the last year. So she pulled the top off and went to the date that I told her this had happened, August 13th. And she had a big X marked on that date.
Wow.
At that year, at that time.
Well,
she says, well, why I did that? But I said, you're the one who brought me back. And then she just didn't want to talk about it anymore.
That's amazing. Now, did you doubt this experience? Did you think I'm fabricating this, or
I doubted it because nobody was talking about it. I went to lots of people, especially the hospital, who didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to get how long was I out? Oh, no, can't tell you. But I want to say in that panel of people that I was in front of at that time, there was somebody there who was really understanding what was happening to me. And she pulled up, I think, figures. She was like in the back and she went like this. And I took it as 8 minutes out. She went like this and then she put her hands down. Proof, no questions, no answers, no what, but I do believe that whatever she was indicating to me, that was in fact truth, that I was gone, out, done, boom.
So now you must, I mean, I would think that at some point you doubt yourself about.
I do.
And you know, because I've known you for a while, and I know that this has been a process for you to really, you know, validate this experience. So what for you was the final sort of icing on the cake that said, you know, this truly happened to me? Was it the X on the calendar with your mom? Was it some other experience? What was it?
It was a shift in my consciousness. It was a shift that I'm here for a reason, that I have a mission and I'm supposed to be doing it. And as it turns out, it was dancing. Ever since that time when I walked into that dance studio, I have been dancing ever since. And this is quite through a lifetime now. I've become successful in my career. I've been able to share the joys of dancing. And it's a process of me giving the gift to people, being of service to people. That's the whole crux of this, is how do I serve with this? And especially when I started talking about in New Thought churches, particularly in Unity in Marin, I was asked to do a sermon about relationships. And that's when Dancing with the Divine came. That was in 2012. I did two sermons.
We're gonna jump into Dancing with the Divine in here in just a minute. But what I want to first ask you is that, you know, there's a lot of events that happen in our lives that are maybe not so favorable, but they take us down a specific journey that take us, you know, some people believe this, that it takes us to where we need to where we need to be. Now, this gentleman that took you from Chicago and brought you to California, in a way, was very instrumental in opening up the path, leading the opportunity for you in a not so favorable way, but at the same point, it landed you where you needed to be at the women's shelter. You walked down the street. You connected with this dance studio. Do you think there's anything to that, or what do you think?
I do believe he came into my life on a contract basis or something. Yeah. He was meant to be in this place at this time and to bring me to where I've been. It was a very tumultuous relationship, and I look back now and I don't even believe that was just one instance. This was 5 years. The last one I just mentioned that did me down, it was 5 years of continuing of this. But for me to find the strength, to find the way out, is what I hope to share with other women who are stuck and who can find their passion and not be squashed. And I do believe he just wanted to squash the dance out of me.
Great. Well, in a moment, we're going to be coming back and talking to Cynthia about her next chapter to her book, Dancing with the Divine. For now, we're going to take a moment and hear from one of our sponsors that's a member of the Karma Institute who is doing good things in the world. We'll be right back. we are back with Cynthia Glinka telling us a great story about her evolution in how dance played out in her life as a child, a very young child, something that she was interested in, and it materialized in her adult life, and she's had a long-lasting career in dance. But more so, right now, she's evolving into a whole new way of introducing dance, and that's dancing with the divine. So Cynthia, tell us where that came from. What does that mean, and how did you evolve into this place where you wanted to do something with dancing with the divine?
Well, thank you for asking that, because as a professional entertainer, dancer, choreographer, I've worked in films and movies, there is this big persona of the outside, of the glamour, of the excitement of this kind of life. I have had a wonderful life in the ways of the fancy. I have been in fancy places and fancy spots and have beautiful ball gowns, and it's just been a wonderful life that any gal or little girl would dream of, and here I am still doing it. So I wanted to find a new way of knowing myself in a new way, the true self, because I've had all this in me, but bringing and weaving spirit or the divine with a profession that is out there in the public eye, in the Bay Area in particular, including Los Angeles and other places across the country. It's really kind of a little sensitive and very sensitive to be able to speak my truth about what I would like to take myself to the next level, and that is dancing with the divine. And what I'd like to say is, many years ago, I had a client or a couple, and they gave me a poem, and they were very spiritual people, and people kind of pick up that I got some kind of magic going on here of what I give to these people in the form of dance. My focus is teaching people 2x2 social style dancing, not dancing with the stars, ballroom dancing. I've kind of downloaded this whole way of being able to share this with couples. So this couple comes in and they bring me a poem, and it was called Guidance. Now, as I mentioned, being Catholic, the God thing, word, never really resonated with me. I was going more into spirit, or into the divine, or into source, whatever you want to call it. There was a higher thing going on here. Intuitive, psychically feeling everything inside, but you can't really weave that in a professional career when you're in the arts and entertainment. So this poem shows up, and it was called Guidance. And basically the poem says, when I meditated on the word guidance, I kept seeing the word dance at the end of the word. I remember reading that, like, doing God's will is like dancing. When two people try to lead, nothing feels right. Basically, when the word guidance, I saw the word dance, I saw the G, the U, the I, God, you, and I dance. That knocked me out of the park. Glinka, you and I dance, whatever it is, but it was guidance. And I've been asking and going inside and outside into soul searching. See, all my life I've been on a soul search, and now I'm finding it within, and that is my true self. And now being able to figure out how to weave it professionally, to be able to share it with other people, to be able to develop it in myself and be not my small self or the glamour self, as I'm aging, as I'm maturing into the divine self.
Fabulous. That's incredible. That's an incredible story, how you've evolved over the years. And, we all have our journeys that take us to where, we're going to be. And some of them are real positive, some are negative, and, or tough lessons to learn. So what does dancing with the divine, I know what it means to you, but what is dancing, how do you see yourself stepping into how you're going to share this message with people about dancing with the divine?
Well, as being an out there person, like I mentioned, I am a pretty present and enthusiastic, joyful person when I'm in front of people and sharing my joy. I work with thousands of people at many locations in San Francisco, and it's almost a journey on what is my legacy and how am I going to be not remembered, but what can I serve and give to people? So Dancing with Divine has a personal meaning. It's a joyful, experience, because when I'm present, my divine comes through to bring joy to others. It's off the charts, folks. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it brings me so much peace that I've been given this gift. If I didn't have those experiences in my earlier life and through my life,
yes,
there you go.
right. So would you say that sort of the metaphor for dancing with the divine is that when you're truly in harmony with your passion, your life's purpose, that it opens up the divine to come through?
It not only comes through me, it goes through to the people I am working with.
Absolutely.
It is like a jolt. It is, I know there's another personality in the Bay Area, but I was given the enthusiasm. And when we looked it up, enthusiasm is a gift from God. It is just a gift. Not many people have this. I thought it was bipolar, hyperactive, it's pure joy. It is just enthusiasm. And I am so grateful to be given that gift after all the I went through.
Well, wouldn't you say that it seems like when we, and life is a journey where, some people, my brother was, I think, in middle school when he knew he was going to be a doctor, and he went off and he was a doctor. And, and then there's other people like myself that I've done lots of different things and in search of what it is that I'm passionate about or where my talents are that really shine and radiate, who I am naturally. So would you say that it part of our journey in life is to seek harmony and alliance with that which we're passionate about and our true essence with a higher self, and then that higher self, does it magnify?
I think it multiplies more so than magnify. I work with a lot of young people, and I have found within myself, I am not a trained dancer. I was kicked out of ballet school. I was too tall. It is in me, and just developing it. I mean, I have been told that possibly a past life had something to do with it, that I'm just reliving it. But I find that the multiplying what we do and what we enjoy as a child or as a youthful person. I was doing fancy parties in my bedroom with my girlfriends and my imaginary friends. And here I am doing fancy parties.
At what age were you doing that?
Oh, I would say 12, 13, 14. Oh, I had a whole thing going on. I had a theater going on, I had tea parties going on. And what I was doing then, I'm doing now in reality.
So what's the biggest obstacle for people to sometimes step into that presence of who they are and connect with the divine?
Being judged.
Tell us more. What do you mean by that?
Being not what you were or what they see you as. The glamour girl, the out there girl, the woman who is, made herself known through some wild journey. And when I'm starting to weave in spirit, I've had a lot of people kind of step back and go, but I don't think I can talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm finding those people are kind of moving aside to let the people who can support me in my spiritual quests, in my spiritual development, in my joy of dancing with the divine, and they get it.
Yeah. Now we've talked about in the past about in your profession, having a healthy ego is natural. It's almost necessary, right?
That's right.
So how would you address, or what would you say about, the ego versus the true self? Or just talk us a little bit about the ego and what transition or what awareness or what evolution you've had as it pertains to a very strong ego and stepping into more of the divine.
Well, I think this is going to be an interesting moment. The ego has a lot to do with people in the public eye, whether it be television, film, or whatever. I've done quite a bit of that, and my ego is always judging me on how I look, how do I and so it's a little thing. I've also learned, as you may have recalled, that ego refers to edging God out. just pushing it all out. And I learned that many years ago. I couldn't quite grasp how that fit. But now it's the ego, I'm kind of just letting that go. Give you an example. Here I am, and where I am in my life now. I was approached a year and a half or two ago to possibly do a special or a series on HBO. These two wonderful women approached me and thought that it would be a good pitch. We did sizzle roll, as they call it, in downtown San Francisco. And I got immersed into this, hair and makeup and dresses and film crew. And when I saw the footage, I saw me as I am today, not this girl who's been out there glamorizing the stages. It was very traumatic for me. It sent me into a spiral. I didn't know I was ever going to come out. I didn't talk about it. And this was a year or two ago.
Well, tell us, if you will, what is it? What was your experience? You saw yourself.
After the sizzle roll was complete, all day shooting, I saw myself and I said, "Who is that? Oh my gosh, that's not me." I guess that's ego. Is that right, Mark?
Well, in what way do you say that's not me?
I've changed. I am not who I was. We're all changing. We're all evolving, and we're all aging. And this whole thing in show business is about age. Freaked me right out.
So that was kind of a wake-up call.
Not a wake-up so much. It was a curtain coming down.
It was, yeah. As I say, sometimes we get a 2x4 to the forehead to wake us up and get us into reality, and we have to take a look seriously at where we're at and where we're going. So it challenged your ego. It addressed the persona of Cynthia Glinka was maybe not the persona that was in your mind and in your essence, and there was a period of transition that took place. Tell us about that.
Well, that period of transition was going deeper within and pulling back. I did not hear from the producers. I did not hear from them. So I started, like I said, to spiral. Where am I going? What am I doing? Where am I going? I don't think I'm going anywhere. And why I needed that, I don't know. I'm finding out that it's within. I'm finding it's here. Having a relationship with the divine and with myself. Being able to give my joy and the gifts that I've been given from wherever, to give them to people. And I'm really getting the joy from that. I want to say that I did see the producers a few months ago, and basically they told me demographics for HBO are 18 to 42. So I said, okay, I'm out. They said, no, we'll find you a place. Well, they're not finding me a place. I'm finding me a place. Dancing with the Divine is developing. It's kind of moving into its own place, and it's bringing in magical moments, magical people, magical experiences that I can now be being centered and being open for the new next step in my life. I might not have an HBO special. I really don't want one right now.
Yeah. It's funny how it changes. When we let go of the ego, it's amazing at what our priorities are. Yep. So what's been the hardest part for you in terms of stepping into this?
Acceptance, I guess.
Acceptance from?
I did a lot, and I'm so grateful. Glinka is grateful. That is I am so grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I am grateful for the experiences I've had, the magic and the wonder of it all. And if I just open myself up to being guided and I listen, I'm finding my way.
But what forces, what beliefs, thoughts, experiences, or whatever that are making it really hard for you to make the plunge? We've talked a little bit about your experience of stepping out and having some people being not so responsive. And I think that's kind of held you back in some ways.
Mark Hughes, you interviewing me now at this present moment and right now is stepping over and out. So I appreciate your inviting me to do this. I appreciate your support with your Karma Institute. And may I just read something that I read?
Absolutely. Oh, in my book. Oh, of course.
Your book.
You want to read something from my book?
Sure.
Good.
So I just want to say, last night I had major revelation. I was invited to do a spring equinox, Spring for Joy, at a local New Thought church, and I was just going to dance with everybody, have a good time. You can see a little clip of it on my YouTube channel. But I decided to be honest and talk about what we're talking about here, about the HBO disappointment and about aging and about dancing with the divine. And it was so profound that everyone embraced it. It was coming from truth instead of this false showbiz kind of self. So when I came home last night, I had your book. And it was the last page. I opened it before I went to sleep.
Oh, by the way, Cynthia,
go ahead.
What is the name of my book?
The name of your book is I Am Not a Prophet, Therefore I Know.
Okay, good plug, Cynthia.
Thank you. And the last paragraph reads, "It matters not what you call it or where you find it. The time has come that we turn to ourselves inward for the guidance and direction during these challenging times. Search not out there, search within. Believe not in what will happen for you out there. Believe completely and totally of what will happen for you in there, inside yourself. The universal energy will reward you with abundance when you grab onto the rope toe of life. Begin now. The power in your life is you." Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Cynthia. I honor you and I respect you, and I want everybody to know as well that Cynthia has been very supportive of me stepping out, and we all have our journeys. For me, my journey was equally challenging in terms of stepping out because, well, for a lot of different reasons. We'll cover that some other time. But you know, the part that I'm loving about the relationship I have with Cynthia and where she's going and where I'm going is having the faith and the confidence to step out and do what you truly are guided to do, because many of us don't do that. And I hope through Cynthia's story that you've had an opportunity to, gain some confidence and some conviction that you can step out and go do the things that you're called to do, listening to your inner voice and making a difference in the world. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Cynthia. We look forward to you joining us on another Karma Talk. This is Mark Hughes saying so long.